All right, so we back. Now there's a lot to unpack here. The FBI has taken down Chauncey Billups, Damon Jones, and some other people associated with the NBA, in addition to the mob, the mafia, in reference to an illegal gambling conspiracy from poker to rigging NBA games. So let's check out this press conference from the FBI and let's see what they got to say.
Good morning. Today we are here in New York to announce a historic arrest across a wide-sweeping criminal enterprise that envelops both the NBA and La Casa Nostra. The men and women up here standing with me represent a small portion of the leadership team that brought profound justice in an era that needed it more than any. I'll just highlight some of the details in the case and the FBI work, and then you'll hear from the others. But as you now know, individuals such as Chauncey Billups, Damon Jones, and Terry Rozier were taken into custody today, former, current NBA players and coaches. What you don't know is that this is an illegal gambling operation and sports rigging operation that spanned the course of years. The FBI led a coordinated takedown across 11 states to arrest over 30 individuals today responsible for this case, which is very much ongoing. Not only did we crack into the fraud that these perpetrators committed on the grand stage of the NBA, but we also entered and executed a system of justice against La Casa Nostra to include the Bonanno, Gambino, Genovese, and Lucchese crime families. And you'll hear more about those details today. The charges and the arrests that were taken down across this country range from wire fraud, money laundering, extortion, robbery, illegal gambling. This FBI will leave no room for any perpetrator of crime across this country. You hear a lot about our work of defending the homeland and crushing violent crime. Well, this work is also representative of a colossal portion of the FBI's mandate to keep America safe and to keep our entertainment industry fair and secure. The men and women that are standing up here today worked tireless hours, days, months, and years. And the fraud is mind-boggling. It's not hundreds of dollars. It's not thousands of dollars. It's not tens of thousands of dollars. It's not even millions of dollars. We're talking about tens of millions of dollars in fraud and theft and robbery across a multi-year investigation. And we could not have done it without our interagency partners that are before us today. The NYPD, HSI, and teams of law enforcement officials from around the country made this day possible. It takes a team to bring this kind of justice, sweeping justice, into the halls of the United States courtrooms, where our brave United States attorney has led this prosecution. It takes courageous prosecutors to stand before you and say, we will not allow this kind of illicit activity to happen, not only at the national sporting level, but also where it hides in La Casa Nostra. And when these two collided together, they perpetrated a fraud that is historic in terms of not just money, but the scheme and the deceit that they utilize to steal and swindle people from money, to include crypto fraud. This is an operation that showcases to you that under President Trump's administration, there is no room for any type of criminal behavior, be it on the world's largest stage or in the back rooms of tiny parlors where card games are being played. We are proud to stand here today with the men and women of the FBI and this legal team. And to the United States Attorney, I just want to thank you personally for taking the time to display the work that the media is about to hear about today in detail. As I said, it does take courageous prosecutors, but it takes a courageous United States Attorney to bring this case, because we are going to take heat for it. But we don't shy away in this administration. We don't say no. What we do is we bring the results across the finish line. We bring them to the public. We bring you accountability. And yes, they will have their day in court, and you will hear the evidence through the court system exclusively. We will not deny anyone of due process. And that's the brilliance of this system. That's the brilliance of this administration. Everyone will be held to account. So with that, I turn it over to United States Attorney Nosella. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Patel. To be clear, we're announcing today indictments in two major cases, both involving fraud. One involves sports betting, and the other involves illegal gambling, very specifically rigged poker games. The first indictment involves 6 defendants who who are alleged to have participated one of the most brazen.
Let me just say this really quick. These people are just straight up greedy, especially if you are in the league. Now, the mafia, they do mafia shit anyway. But if you're in the league, or were in the league, or you're a current coach, or and you know, a current player, and you're involved in this type of stuff, to me, it's like it's hustling backwards, and it's like no matter what, there are just people that just make things. They have to turn things illegal, right? Like we all have friends that they could start a legal business. You know, they get a Subway or something, and then the first thing they think, oh, we could sell bricks out the back, right? Like that line of thinking, right? And you know, it's crazy to me. And on the other side of that, right, it's crazy how sports books and casinos can rig games against you, but when you rig games against them, it's a problem, right? That part of it is like a hypocrisy to me. And obviously, you know, people are betting on these games, so the consumer could potentially lose money. But I don't feel bad for the sports books at all because they rig, you know, these you know, the FanDuel and all these other casino attached apps they're all rigged, you know, especially if you step into the casino. Anybody knows the majority of the games in the casinos are rigged, and if you go in there and count cards, they kick you out, right? But again, you know, on that front, like I don't feel sorry for these casinos. But let's get back to the video.
Sports corruption schemes since online sports betting became widely legalized in the United States. This scheme is an insider sports betting conspiracy that exploited confidential information about National Basketball Association athletes and teams. The second indictment involves 31 defendants alleged to have participated in a nationwide scheme to rig illegal poker games. These defendants, which include former professional athletes, used high-tech cheating technology to steal millions of dollars from victims in underground poker games that were secretly fixed. The games in the New York area were backed by the Bonanno, Gambino, and Genovese crime families of La Cosa Nostra. While the cases are separate, there are 3 overlapping defendants charged in both cases: Damon Jones, Eric Ernest, and Shane Hennon. The indictments in these cases contain only allegations, and the defendants are presumed innocent until they are proven guilty in a court of law. But my message to the defendants who've been rounded up today is this: your winning streak has ended. Your luck has run out. Violating the law is a losing proposition, and you can bet on that. First, I would like to talk about United States versus Ernest, the NBA basketball gambling case. The defendants in this case are Eric Ernest, Marvez Farley, Shane Hennon, De Niro Laster, Damon Jones, a former NBA player and coach, and Terry Rozier, a current NBA player. Other co-conspirators were previously charged for their roles in the scheme, including former NBA player Jontay Porter. Between December 2022 and March 2024, these defendants perpetrated a scheme to defraud by betting on inside, non-public information about NBA athletes and teams. The non-public information included when specific players would be sitting out future games, or when they would pull themselves out early for purported injuries or illnesses. They relied on corrupt individuals, including Jones and Rozier. They also misused information obtained through long-standing friendships that they had with NBA players and coaches. And in at least one instance, they got their information by threatening a current player, Porter, because of his pre-existing gambling debts. Defendants used this non-public information to place hundreds of thousands of dollars in fraudulent bets, mostly in the form of prop bets on individual player performance. The bets were placed through online sports books and also in person at casinos. The defendants relied on a network of straw bettors to place the maximum amount of bets to increase their potential profits. Most of these bets succeeded, and the intended losses were in the millions of dollars. The defendants then laundered their illegal winnings in various ways: peer-to-peer platforms, bank wires, and simple cash exchanges. The indictment details specific examples where the defendants profited from illegal gambling and illegal betting on various NBA games about the performance of players on, among other things, the Charlotte Hornets, the Portland Trail Blazers, the Los Angeles Lakers, and the Toronto Rangers. Each defendant in the NBA basketball gambling case has been charged with conspiracy to commit wire fraud and conspiracy to commit money laundering. Now, I would like to turn to the other case, United States versus Aiello, the rigged poker game case. Beginning as early as 2019, the defendants in this...
Let me just say something about the whole poker thing. They were showing a lot of this stuff on social media. Like, I know some people down in New York, and they were posting this shit on social media, like in like Instagram stories and stuff. And it's like, that's not a casino. That looks like, you know, like how they described it, like back room in the closet type of thing. And, you know, all of this stuff, it doesn't matter what it is. Sports betting, you know, social media, like all of this stuff is digitized. Like it leaves a footprint. Okay. But no matter, doesn't matter if it's cryptocurrency, like he said, bank wires, it really doesn't matter. And that's how they put a lot of this stuff together, is because everything's on camera, everything's being recorded, right? Regardless of what people say or think, they're always listening when your device is around. If it's not in the microwave, they can hear you, right? They can damn near predict what you think, pretty much, right? And the reason why I know that is because on the Breakfast Club, the governor of Maryland probably didn't think about it when he said it, but he talked about how the state of Maryland invests money in what they consider predictive analysis. So pretty much it can gather data, you know, based off what you're looking at, based off what you're Googling, who you're following on social media, the type of things you're interested in, and pretty much predict crime before it happens, okay? Like how we saw, I can't think of the name of that movie. I believe it's like Minority Report or something like that. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, please. But they can pretty much use these things now. Now, it may not be public information that they're using it, but they know who's going to do what, when, in the time frame, because that technology has been available. So imagine what they have now, right? So you know, this out of hand.
This case orchestrated a scheme to use wireless cheating technology to run rigged poker games across the United States, including in the Hamptons, Las Vegas, Miami, and Manhattan. The scheme targeted victims known as, quote, fish, who were often lured to participate in these rigged games by the chance to play alongside former professional athletes who were known as, quote, face cards. The so-called face cards included the defendant Chauncey Billups, who at the time of the scheme was a former NBA player and is currently the head coach of the Portland Trail Blazers, and also Damon Jones, a former NBA player and coach. What the victims, the fish, didn't know is that everybody else at the poker game, from the dealer to the players, including the face cards, were in on the scam. Once the game was underway, the defendants fleeced the victims out of tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars per game. The defendants used a variety of very sophisticated cheating technologies, some of which were provided by other defendants in exchange for a share of the profits from the scheme. For example, they used off-the-shelf shuffling machines that had been secretly altered in order to read the cards in the deck, predict which player at the table had the best poker hand, and relay that information to an off-site operator. The off-site operator sent the information via cell phone back to a co-conspirator at the table, and that person at the table was known as the quarterback. The quarterback then signaled secretly the information he had received from to others at the table, and together they used that information in order to win their games and to cheat the victims. Defendants used other cheating technologies such as poker chip tray analyzers, which is a poker chip tray that secretly reads cards using a hidden camera, special contact lenses or eyeglasses that could read pre-marked cards, and an X-ray table that could read cards face down on the table. What you see depicted on the screen right now is an example of the X-ray table that reveals the cards. Although they are face down on the table, they can be read because of the X-ray technology. The Mafia, specifically...
I'm pretty sure the casinos use the same shit. I'm pretty sure they use the same shit or something similar. I've never worked at a casino, but it's all the house always wins, always, right? And the most casino games are rigged. I'm pretty sure casinos are using something very similar, if not the same technology. It exists for a reason.
Members and associates of the Bonanno, Gambino, and Genovese organized crime families had pre-existing control over non-rigged, illegal poker games around New York City. As a result, they also became involved in the rigged poker games, helping to organize the games and taking a cut of the proceedings, and working to enforce the collection of debts. The defendants laundered their proceeds, including through cash exchanges, the use of multiple shell companies, and through cryptocurrency transfers. As part of the scheme, some of the defendants and their co-conspirators also committed acts of violence, including the gunpoint robbery of a person in order to obtain a rigged shuffling machine, and extortions that were perpetrated against victims in order to ensure that they repaid their gambling debts. Defendants who participated in the rigged poker scheme are charged with wire fraud conspiracy. Other defendants have been charged with crimes including illegal gambling, money laundering, Hobbs Act robbery, and extortions. This case demonstrates our office's unrelenting commitment to fighting the scourge of organized crime in whatever form it takes. I'd like to conclude my remarks by thanking the incredible hard work of our law enforcement partners, including the FBI, Homeland Security, the NYPD, and the Waterfront Commission. I also want to thank the...
Whew, that's a lot. That's a lot. Like, essentially what's going to happen when you have this many people on one case, you're going to have some people taking plea deals to testify against others, for a reduced sentence or to get out altogether. You're going to have people all the way up to the top that are going to be telling on crimes that have nothing to do with any of this, just to get a reduced sentence or to get their charges dropped or whatever. So these two cases are going to create a domino effect, and it's going to lead into other indictments. Now, I read the article in reference to this. This thing is still ongoing. They're saying that there's some other people, players, coaches, staff, whatever, that are involved that they still have to pick up. So this is what happens when you get greedy. Now, one thing that he mentioned, especially with the whole greed thing, the crypto thing, people think that cryptocurrency is decentralized and that it is, really like private, right? Like you're your own bank, person to person. Let me be the first person to tell you, the federal government created cryptocurrency. The blockchain, the federal government created. Bitcoin, the federal government created, right? You can't get away with any of this stuff. The federal government are the only people that can trace Bitcoin and get it and get it back, right? So if somebody were to steal Bitcoin from you, they can go and get it back. How is that? Because they created it, okay? So this whole push into cryptocurrency, this whole push into digital assets and stuff like that is just another form of surveillance. It makes it easier for them. Okay. Anytime a cryptocurrency transaction is done, it's public, right? Before that, the federal government, if you were under investigation, used to have to subpoena your bank records, right? They would have to go to Bank of America, or they have to go to a judge first, get whatever they need, present the probable cause to get the warrant, then go to Bank of America. Here's the warrant to be able to get your statements. Well, with cryptocurrency, they don't have to do that because it's public, right? So it pretty much cuts out steps for them. That's why they're pushing everybody toward it, is because it's another element of control and surveillance. Okay. Now I have a crypto channel for anybody that wants to check it out. Feel free, Crypto Goon. I talk about how I make money in crypto. But again, people really have to really understand, what is really going on in reference to all of this mess, out here that they have going on. And hopefully, nobody that I know got caught up in this. But, it's a crazy world we live in. This level of greed is crazy. People in the NBA and these coaches, they make great money. Just make proper investments. Like, why do you have to go and do this? Knowing it can be traced. All of it can be traced. Electronics can be surveilled, right? We're all being surveilled, right? When you're on your cell phone, when you're looking at your cell phone and you see yourself, they see you too. Okay. So, I just don't understand the level of greed, man. Y'all are already making millions of dollars. I understand, the gambling debts and all that, but you better off like trade options or something. But anyway, I appreciate you all tapping in. Make sure y'all stick around. Subscribe to the channel.